Greetings and welcome back to Switched to Linux. We have a couple different little clips we're going to record today. First one of these is going to be the EU. Is the EU going to block custom ROMs? And another one is we're going to look at Tails, just kind of do another review of Tails, how to get it set up, how to get it installed, and things like that. So that being said, let's go ahead and start with saying who is here. Greetings, the Illuminati is here. The Illuminati is indeed confirmed. Hello, Michelle. How's it going there? Hi to you. Thomas Holt, greetings to you. We are both doing okay. You can see that CJ's just had a really rough day. He's just like, yeah. Loopy's here. Greetings, Loopy. Paco, give me a taco. Greetings. How's it going there? Yu-Gi-Oh! Master, how's it going there? Peppermint 8 review is up. Very cool, very cool. Isn't Peppermint 9 the one that's out now? I thought I was running 6. I think I'm 2 versions behind, right? Let's see. Greetings, Sleepy Eyes Vince. How's it going there? Yes, the kitty is sleeping. All right. EU needs to battle more useful things. Yeah, kitty has a very tough life. He sleeps, then he moves over there, and then he sleeps over there, and then he moves over this way, and he sleeps over there. Hard life the kitty happens to have. Don't wake the cat. All right. Greetings, Eugene. How's it going there? Ed McLean. How's it going there? Hey, you to you as well. Woohoo! I got a taco. I got a taco from Paco. Linux Daily, greetings. Just got a Raspberry Pi 3. Currently runs CentOS. Trying to figure out what I can do with it. Well, I run mine primarily as a media server. RetroPie is fun. VPNs are cool, more utilitarian, less cool. But I think the media center is my most useful thing with it. But that's what I'm doing. All right, let's go ahead and push my record button today. Don't want to forget. And we will jump on over to our main topic. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, is the EU going to block custom ROMs? This is actually an interesting article that I missed in its first couple rounds around, and you guys probably did as well. And so it's an interesting thing to see where and how these things slip through and how they seem to get by everybody, because this is kind of, to me, a little bit of a big deal. So to start out, let's just have a look over here at, this is the European Commission, and what they're looking at is the upload of software on radio equipment. So the entire premise here is to make sure everything is safe. Of course, if you altered the something about the software in this world where software can even actually define and drive hardware, is it possible to push software onto some device that causes it to go outside of the scope of normal or healthy or safe range? And that's kind of what they have, what they're kind of thinking of. And so this is the thing that makes you think, oh, well, of course they would want to be careful with this, because if I take some device that can broadcast radio waves, maybe a G5, you know, whatever, or a smart meter or something, and I put some type of weird random software on it, could that not impact how the thing works and move it to work outside of what the law would dictate as a safe range? And that's kind of what they're thinking of doing this. But the implications are certainly interesting, because we all have these things called cell phones. And a cell phone is a radio device. It sends and receives radio data. A wireless router sends and receives radio data. And effectively, what the law would dictate, now this is actually an update to a 2014 law, but what this would actually dictate is that it would be illegal for you in the European Union to put any form of software on a device unless the company certifies that the software is good. So this is a Nexus 5X phone, which is a Google device, and I run a custom ROM on that. I run Lineage on there because I don't want Google's backdoor fingers all over everything, and so I run that because the Lineage build has stripped out all of the things that make regular connections to the Google servers. So if Google were to come out and say, yes, we have certified this phone with Lineage, then I could, in the EU, if this were to pass through, then what would end up happening is they could certify that, and then it would be legal for me to take my device, unlock the bootloader, and install whatever software I would like onto it. But if they don't do that, then it would be illegal to do that. Now, does Google have any incentive? No. The problem is they have everything to lose and nothing to gain by certifying custom ROMs, FOSS software, or things like this. Because it helps Google to have a device that has everything. And this is why I talked a while back where the EU was trying to slap Google with anti-competitiveness, which I said was flat out ridiculous because Google's devices are the most unlockable and most compatible with custom software that's out there. I have the choice when I go out and buy my device what I want to get. In fact, that's exactly why I bought this device. I was running different phone. I said, I want to run a custom device. What will work? And then I proceeded to find a used version of that device. So I could pick up a device and use whatever ROM I wanted. Now, of course, that's not always easy because there are several devices that are not unlocked or not unlockable, which would make it almost impossible. So does Samsung, who really wants you using their device, are they going to take any amount of time or consideration to certify a custom ROM like Lineage? And most versions of the Samsung flagship phones can run Lineage. But if this were to pass through, then you could not take your device and install a custom ROM. Now, there's another factor to look at. Consider this. I run pfSense for my router. Now, this one here is an interesting little debate because pfSense generally, it's capable of plugging a wireless card into it and sending and receiving data, but my particular build, it's generally better to leave that card off and utilize a wireless access point instead. So pfSense, I don't know where this would fit in the middle of the lot because the core functionality is not necessarily dealing with radio waves, and most of the individual devices, like my PC itself, does not actually directly support any of the radio wave transmission. However, by plugging an antenna into the USB port, I can make it have that functionality. Where does that sit in this law? But the next thing consumables will have is your wireless routers. Because several wireless routers you can buy from the store, you can actually unlock and install your own custom router software on there, and those do have built-in hardware-based wireless receivers. And so while the noble intent of this ruling at the EU is to make sure that radio waves stay within safe signal ranges, it has the after effect, the afterthought, that unless a company comes through and certifies it can work with the custom hardware, then it would be illegal to do so. And almost no company has an incentive to do that. Only if we get something like the Pine phone or the Librem 5 phone coming out, where they do have a vested interest in the free and open source, they would certify anything that is a big enough case. But now we have this extra question: how can a software become big enough to get certified if we can't use it to begin with? So the EU is trying to force a law which would produce antitrust, the one organization that's so concerned with antitrust, which is quite hilarious. Now, as I said, I missed this case. Now, the feedback period is going until from 1/28/19 to 3/4/19. So, in other words, as of about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point, the feedback is now closed. The next portion is the public consultation, a draft act, and a commission adoption. So this is where you guys in the EU need to fight back. We probably missed that feedback period, but now it's time to start contacting people who are above these levels to look at this. Now, of course, the Free Software Foundation European branch has some information to say on this as well. They talk about the EU radio lockdown directive, some information. Like I said, this is an update to a 2014 mandate, and they do a good job of highlighting what the dangers are of free software that we have mentioned. It will destroy competition in the EU, which would mean that, you know, these companies can still go to non-EU nations or someplace like the United States. We can still do this, but I'm concerned about the deeper issue. If something passes through in Europe, United States usually isn't too far down the pipeline. So this is certainly interesting. Now, again, the open public comment session I missed this. I didn't see this on my radar. I first heard about this when the Level 1 News covered this issue, I think, which was yesterday. So this is an interesting thing. So this is one of these, you know, thinking about it. So what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments there. Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Does this negatively impact you? Are you in the European Union? Keep the discussion going in the comments down below. If you want to help support the channel, have a look at the links in the description or right above me here, and take a look on the social media platforms so you don't lose out on any upcoming announcements. All right, speaking of announcements, I will not be doing a Patreon stream tomorrow. I may not even do a video tomorrow. I have some other things going on, and I think I'm just going to take the day off of doing video content. What I'll probably end up doing is taking one of these two sections I'm going to release tonight. I'll probably just go ahead and release the other one tomorrow. So I won't be doing a regular video. I will be doing a video on the Christian channel at 9:00 p.m. tomorrow. If you have a look at my main channel page here on Switch to Linux, you'll find the link to the Christian channel on that. 9:00 Eastern time, we will be doing a live stream over there. But no live stream tomorrow on Switch to Linux. That's my announcement for the day. And let me go ahead and get my next round of stuff set up here, and then we'll dive into the comments. I need that, and we need to open up there we are. We're going to look at Tails next. All right, let's see. Greetings if you just jumped on. If you missed any of this, I will be having I will release the edited copy of the first part of this today and the second part tomorrow. Got baby, not much chatting, but I'm watching. Greetings, Benjamin, and hello to the baby. Hello, Dan. Greetings there. Peppermint 9 respin is current. That's what I was thinking. G5 connection. Yeah, I'm trying to block it out of my brain. All right, Kenny's trying out MX Linux. Very good. Loopy's going to be right back. Don't lug your Power Mac G5 with graphics card you got for $4 in a garage sale and reflash ROM into the EU. Yeah, that's another question, is what happens if I'm a US person and I have my custom ROM on my phone and I go and visit the EU? That would be interesting. EU wants banned custom ROMs for safety reasons. Ooh, safety reasons. That's right. All right. I think they need to specify the law, like the issue with the broad law banning hemp here in U.S. for no reason, though I believe it was intentional to control the economy. Yeah, European Unions, there's going to be some lockdown. So it's going to be like the Great Wall of Europe pretty soon. The Great Firewall of Europe. Cheap repairs will keep us from ripping off customers twice. Apple. Custom ROMs mean we can't collect your data. So, yeah, also Apple. Yep. This law mean I can't use an old Linksys router and install open source third-party firmware? Yes. That's exactly what it would mean. EU is trying to ban ROMs. No, custom ROMs that as related specifically to radio sending and receiving devices. We're talking routers, we're talking smartphones, anything else that has some degree of sending and receiving radio signals with it. Capable of rooting my phone and installing custom ROMs, and I'm entirely capable of deciding if I want to microwave my brain. Oh, but they're concerned with everybody else's brain because the EU is one giant nanny state. Mommy. EU, mommy, help me. Right, kitty? Right, kitty? Yeah? Oh, he's over there being cute. He's just like, dude, I'm just going to like chill over here, man. Yeah, I'm going to pray, you know. All right. Heard something vague about EU forbidding flashing ROMs, but the person left out the flashing BIOSes. That might have something to do with it. Actually, who uses their phone for phone calls anymore? Well, whether or not you use it for phone calls is not actually the issue, because you can use the device for you still have to have the radio waves going in and out to send text messages, get internet, and things like that. Forgot the title of the movie. There's a great movie in England being the future empire and totalitarian state. Children of Men. Ooh, that's neat. Just showed up. See you later. See you later, Eugene. V for Vendetta. Yeah, that's another one. I think the EU is your grandmother who knows best. Oh, God. Yeah, the out-of-touch grandmother who knows best. EU would be a nanny state. In the sense that the alternative is just worse. Moving to a country outside the EU. And all the EU quakes in fear, socialism kills people. EU breaks out knives and tries to kill you. Yeah, I mean, what we're finding is that the human nature factor is always there. If you ban everything that could conceivably be used as a weapon, people will run around with their hands choking one another. I mean, come on. This is human nature we're talking about. This is human nature. USA's not too much better. Not really. We've got our own issues. I love my Nana. She's so sweet. Once told her I should get a new wife unless I gave her a grandson rather than granddaughters. Well, I mean, you can explain to her, you know, how the biological opponent works. It's not her fault if you don't give her a grandson. It's, you know, it's your fault, not the wife's fault, you know. I mean, the part that makes a baby a boy or a girl does indeed come from a man, not a woman. Just, you know, FYI. All right. So many chips and circuits can be used to send and receive signals that it's not designed for it. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's look at our next section here. We're gonna have to do a little bit of setup here. Let me go ahead and let's change my settings over here. And we'll change you up to Debian, and then we should be pretty good to go. All right. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, there's a new edition of Tails out, and so I want to take a little bit of time and introduce you to Tails a little bit. We're not going to be looking at really what's different. This is just an updated introduction. What is Tails, how to use Tails, how to install it, get it ready, and things like that. So what we're going to do is first, let's have a look at the Tails website. Tails is an acronym, the Amnetic Incognito Live System. This is, in my opinion, among the best ways that you can access the internet in a secure and private function. There are several different distros that are trying to compete with this. Like I saw Heads, which was near impossible to use because it doesn't seem to mount external drives. And doesn't seem to have persistence that I know of. There's a couple other ones like this as well that I looked at and said, not really. I would still trust Tails more than any of them. So Tails is an operating system that from the ground up, it is based on Debian with the GNOME desktop environment, and it uses Tor. In fact, what it does is it sends everything through Tor at the root level. The other thing that Tails does very well is it mimics the identical fingerprint. Now, the fingerprint, this is what the thing I'm concerned with Ubuntu taking system diagnostic details on the install is that produces what is called a fingerprint. And a fingerprint can be used to identify someone. So even if you're if you download a Tor browser bundle on Windows and you're browsing on the internet, they will still see a lot of things about your system. They can narrow you down to your screen resolutions, to your operating system, a lot of different things. What Tails does, though, is it's going to create a unified fingerprint that, as long as you're not changing a lot of the settings that are not meant to be changed, everybody using Tails on the internet is going to look like the exact same computer. And the next thing that it does is a consistent live key system. It's not something that you install onto a hard disk. It is meant to run as a live key, so every single time you pull it out, shut it down, close it down, everything is wiped off of it. Now, it does also, though, support a persistent drive, which actually allows you to install extra applications in your persistent drive. So you can actually install the thing onto a USB flash drive with a persistent volume, and then when you boot up Tails, it's going to give you the option to log into your persistent drive. So if you need to log in and save anything, you can log into that drive. If you don't, you just log in without logging into the drive, and everything is consistently secure. Now, the next thing that they do to make sure that you don't mess up the system is they have one of the best installers there are. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 1 or 2 USB drives. So I just keep my little box of USB drives here. And if you basically start by hitting the download button and then going, am I from Windows, am I on Mac, or am I on Linux? So what this is actually going to do is it's going to download it and install it onto a drive easily. Now you have another option. So here you can install it from another Tails. So if I already have a Tails install running, I can actually plug in another USB drive, run the installer, and install Tails onto that new drive. Or I can install in Linux. I need a USB stick, which is at least 8 gigabytes, about an hour. Generally, this is going to be completely dependent on how fast your internet connection is. I mean, I downloaded mine in a few minutes, and then half hour to install. It could take 5-10 minutes. All right, so we have some tools over here. What I generally do is I download, and you can either download it for USB sticks, or you can download a copy for a DVD drive and a virtual machine. USB stick one should still work in a virtual machine. Last time I tried it, it did, and I hope it does because that's what we're going to be using today. So I downloaded the USB stick one. Now here, if you come over here, you can either download it over here, or you can download a torrent file of it. And when you're downloading it over here, there is a verification extension that you can install inside of your browser. And this will install the extension, and then it downloads and verifies it for you. Tails is one you always want to make sure it's verified. So I generally just do the BitTorrent one because BitTorrent will automatically verify the download once it's complete, and then I'm left with my ISO image that I can either burn onto a CD. Now, if you want to install this with that ISO image that you've downloaded, then you actually will need 2 USB sticks. You're going to need one of them to burn the image onto and booting up the computer, and then you need the second one to install the instance of Tails onto. If you happen to have a computer that is good enough to use a virtual machine, then you can actually utilize the virtual machine instead. So you can use the virtual machine and a USB stick to do that. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to jump on over to my desktop view of this. Let me move my comments out of the way. And then I've set up a machine here to take Tails. I think this is one that has my Ubuntu Mate on that I recently used to do my Mate video on. So we're just going to go over here to the Tails, and nope, they changed it on me. So I would actually have to have an ISO image. So we're going to have to take a brief break. I'm going to go and download the other one, and we'll come back and grab that, the ISO. So they changed that on me. That's what happened. They changed it on me. So we're going to come back to the main screen over here. We're going to download the one for virtual machines. I'm going to grab the BitTorrent version, and then from there we're going to come back and we'll boot it up once we are done with that. Those things, they change on you, guys. Those things, they change on you. So we're gonna wait for that to download, and then once that's downloaded, then we'll go back and boot the machine up. Yeah, they changed it on me. All right. Humans are naturally depraved creatures. Honestly, I'd rather most states be libertarian. Yeah. Way to bring biology into an irrational argument. Well, come on. Do we want to talk about God or not? Do we want to talk about science or not? Do we want to talk about, reality or not? I mean, these are questions we need to ask. Europe is cracking down on privacy. There's a last chance Europe-wide protest against Article 12, 11, 12, and 13 this weekend. So terror uplifter popped up lately, and Antios for new foreign visa plan. Yeah, guys, you guys better get in there pretty well. Hello, everyone. All right. Last 10, 20 years, the EU tried to implement the same kind of law a few times before. All right, looks like our download is done. So we're going to come on over here. All right, so my download is done, and since we're doing tails, I have a tail here. I picked me up tail, so we'll have this tail going here, but of course you won't see it because I'm going to be over in my desktop view. All right, so now we should have the correct image now. So this is the image. This is the ISO. Like I said, they changed that on me. Let me see all files. Oh, it's still going? Huh, it said it was done. Let me check on that. It said it was done downloading, but it doesn't look like it is. Oh. Downloads, ISO image. Really? Huh. It said it was done downloading, but it's not. All right. Interesting. Okay, now it says it's complete. Let me verify it's complete this time. Hey, I verified it's complete. All right, so now we're going to come into choose. I'm going to go down to my ISO this time, and we're going to boot this guy up. So I'm going to put this into my virtual machine, and we will go ahead and start this guy up. And it looks like my tail just ran away. That's a bummer. I was looking forward to having a tail on my screen. All right. So when you boot up Tails, you're going to get, it should boot up full screen for us in the virtual machine. It may or may not, but we'll kind of see what it does. So it is, what they've done is they've gone through and they've curated the software just to make sure that everything is like extra audited. They want to make sure that nothing is going out that shouldn't be going out into the world. They want to make sure that all connections are good and whatever else. And so when we get into the actual operating system, the first thing that we're actually going to see, since this is installed from a live key, it's going to have a slightly different startup screen versus if you started up from an install. All right, so this one here is where we have our basic start screen. So you pick your language, your keyboard layout, your formats. Now there's additional settings. So the administrative password is here. We can have MAC address spoofing, which is turned on by default. And then we can actually enable or disable the networking connection. So if you know for a fact you don't want to be on the network, you can actually disable that. And then you can set an administrative password. So if you're going to be doing any type of administrative things, you want to do that. The default is to turn it off. Now, if you do have a persistent volume, then you will have another option here to unlock a persistent volume. We don't have one of those, so we're just going to go ahead and click Start Tails. And then this is going to give us our connection. All right, so here now it's giving us this warning that a non-free virtual machine is detected. That is because of the there's parts of virtual machine that are not open source, and so I'm okay with that. I fully accept these risks. So we do have, it looks like my network is not turned on. I'm not sure if maybe oh, it is turned on. All right. So what it's going to do is it's automatically going to connect in, and then the next thing what we should see is it should be adjusting the clock, which based on my time, yes, it did adjust the clock. So it is going to change your clock, which is going to adjust you to whatever time zone your exit Tor node's coming from, which gives you an extra layer of protection. And then, of course, the onion circuits over here is what tells you that everything is connected. So everything is there. So we're going to come up into here. Now, they have curated a lot of software that there is a lot of useful applications on here that hopefully you shouldn't need to actually download a lot of extra software, and be very careful if you do. But we have everything, KeePass X, we have GIMP, Inkscape, we have LibreOffice, Scribus, scanning tools, just a whole variety of different things are already pre-installed into the system already. And so there is a large degree of things. Now, this is where we have our system tools. We can add additional software. We can configure a persistent volume, which we will not be able to do right here because we are not actually installed. We also have the Tails installer. I would have to install and insert another drive into the machine in order to do that. Now, on a virtual machine, if you have enabled your virtual machine extension pack and you have enabled your USB 3, you can plug a drive in, go into your device settings, and insert the drive into the virtual machine, and you can actually install Tails from right here. That will work very well. In fact, that's the way I have installed my latest edition. Now, most cases, if you have, excuse me, if you have Tails already installed on a drive, then when you install it, it's going to check if there's an update, and it will automatically download and install it. Well, it tells you there's an update. It doesn't do it automatically. It tells you there's an update and gives you the option to download and install the updates. So once you have a Tails built, generally it will update itself. Every now and again, there's changes that will force you to reinstall it. So keep that in mind as well. But the system tools are a very useful place to go. Here is, of course, we have our system monitor. Of course, you don't use something like this for, for low resources, but still, even with the Tor browser running, we are still running only 1.5 gig. It's going to have an older version of GNOME on here for sure. Let's just double check what version we happen to have. Yeah, way old version of GNOME. 3.22, so it's not super ancient, but pretty old. We'll click here that you can go right on into checking the Tor browser. This is not my IP address. It does tell you that JavaScript is enabled. We do have NoScript, which is actually, I believe, turned on, so we can actually turn that off. I don't really use NoScript much. What I'm doing in here, if I don't want JavaScript, I come in here and I just do an about config, and I just come in here and just search for JavaScript and disable it like that. That's usually what I do. Now JavaScript is disabled. Now the downside is I can't select certain websites to turn JavaScript on, but that's what I like to do if I don't want JavaScript. You have that option as well. We also have uBlock on here as well, and I'm not sure if there's any other extensions. Let's go ahead and have a look. We have HTTPS everywhere installed as well. So those are the things that are installed on the Tor browser by default. So again, just a little side note too, I'm demonstrating this in a VirtualBox, but you never want to use Tails in a virtual machine. This is not what it's designed for. If you want anonymity in a virtual machine, you need Unix, which is designed to be anonymous inside of a virtual machine environment. And because it runs two separate virtual machines and bounces a signal off of each other to verify everything. So just keep in mind, you do use this for an external USB drive. Now, if you're not concerned about persistence, you can actually just take this ISO, burn it right onto a USB drive, and it will work perfectly fine. If you do need to save your files, persistence, download other applications or things like that, you do need to install it on your drive. And as it's installed on your drive, you do need to set up your persistent volume as well. So that is Tails. It is definitely worth having a copy of this laying around. Get yourself a little USB 3 stick. Get a Tails with a persistent volume installed on that, and then use that, throw that on your keychain, so if you need to access something from a random computer, you're very safe doing so utilizing this platform. So that is Tails. As far as what is new on this particular build, let's just go ahead and have a quick look at the change logs here. We should have probably done that first, but let's see. All right, so upgrades and changes. Support for Bopo Mofo. I have no idea what that is. Chinese using the chewing library. All right, somebody can tell me what that actually means. We're updating the Tor browser to version 8, which works better with Cloudflare things, by the way. Upgrading Tor 0.3. We have a more recent version of Thunderbird. Actually, the Linux kernel is up to date. Well, not fully up to date, but pretty good. And upgrades to the microcode, which fixes more variants of Spectre, Meltdown, and level 1 terminal fault. So extra security and safety to mitigate the Spectre and Meltdown vulnerabilities. So if you are using this for a good secure environment, make sure you are running the updates. All right, so that is our recent version of Tails, and briefly how to use it, how to set it up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments in the comments there down below. You can help support the channel by looking at the links in the description or right up above me, and have a look at the social media if you want to follow me over on any of those that you might have and get any show updates. All right, let me go ahead and turn this machine off, and then we will be back for discussions. All right, let's see. EU is becoming a corporatist superstate. I'd say it already has been for 1 or 2 decades. Yep. Gnome is gnome. Sorry, man. I just removed comments that try and correct on pronunciation. It's just a global thing. All right. Let's see. All right. Are there any let's see. Are on Tails ISO any good for decrypting volumes? Wait. On Tails ISO, any tools? Okay, yeah, Tails, as of, I think it's 3.11 or 3.12, it now supports Veracrypt out of the box. It always has supported Lux. So it has Lux by default. Just a more recent version has, more recent versions have started to show Veracrypt as well. So those two. All right, 19th century U.S. government used tariff orders in order to protect American companies. Great to see Tails in work. Tried it several years ago. Yep. Which desktops environments are you running? That's at Steve Anderson. See if he responds. You may find in most cases you can only drag and drop into your home folder, and other folders may be as root. All right. Can you run Windows XP skin on Tails? I heard it was an option in the settings. Last I knew, they took out the cloning view. I mean, that was something that was in Tails back in version 2. As of version 3, I've not seen that. If there is a setting for it, I'm unaware of it. But you used to, when you booted it up, you had the option to just go into the basic Tails, or you could go into a Windows clone mode, which they dropped that option when it switched to version 3. Unfamiliar with it, but isn't Unity GNOME 2? I guess Unity was just as good, a really good implementation. It was based on GNOME, but I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3. Education, science, infrastructure, fighting poverty that laid a good foundation. Yeah. If only it still worked. External USB drive, there's a chance it may have been mounted as root. You can't write to a file without sudoing, then you can't drag and drop in the file manager. Yep. Germany also considers amendment to the law which makes it illegal to run a Tor node or website. Wow, that's exciting. That needs to go. Learn the history I mentioned in honors United States history class. All right. Chris Titus after Debian. I don't know about root. Well, I mean, I'm not sure what the issue was. I didn't catch that video series, but you know, if you install Debian, it does not install your main user as root by default. So you can actually log in as root and add your main user to the sudo group if you want. What's the issue with root? So I didn't catch the video, so I'm not sure what the issue was there. History, you always need as many sources. A lot of biases and a lot of left out cherry-picked facts in most books. Yep. State we are a Common Core test. Actually, I made a joke about pronouncing G and GNOME. Joke was saying no, homeless. No problem, man. No problem. I just started like a while back. I just started anytime somebody tried to whine about pronunciation, I just delete it. Just delete it. You know, nothing irritates you more than when you silence a grammar snob. All right. Let's see. Common Core usually is not a good thing. In the same country, we gave it a different name. Yeah. Common Core, bringing everybody down to the same imbecilic levels of education. Claims that textbooks the school gives us are biased. Well, that's sometimes very true. Right-click fully should be able to open as root, unless you're on KDE. Actually, though, not every file manager allows you to open as root. Some of them you can actually get to it by go into the terminal and do sudo name of the file manager. So, but not every file manager supports a click to open as root. Cinnamon does. I think Kaja might, but not a lot of them do. But you can get around that by going into the terminal and do sudo and name. So in Cinnamon, sudo nemo will open up nemo as root. But you can't do that, for example, in KDE with Dolphin. They just don't let you do sudo. But yeah, you can open it. Some programs you refuse to be opened from sudo. Yep, that's an issue with KDE. Did not give me an option for dragging or creating new files. SwitchedTolinux claimed, as he dealt with people, he tries to help those who do not even know how to save a file since they have been using Google Drive so much. Yep. That's right. Can't even save. How do you save a file? Ah! Hit save. Choose where it goes. Now it's on the computer, not on the mystical, magical cloud. The cloud. Cloud. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm back. The cloud was trying to take me. Struggled to use Google Drive just a few months ago because I've never used it. If I correct pronunciation, I do use the International Phonic Alphabet. There you go. The thing is, like, GNOME is either GNOME or GNOME. According to the foundation, either one is correct. Mate is kind of like a tomato. Is it mate or mate? Well, do you say tomato or tomato? You know, I mean, I do tomato, so it's mate. I mean, come on. I had folders named new folder 1, new folder 2. I cannot drag into one. Yeah, it sounds like what directory are you on? I'm not sure where you're at. Tricks to pass the test, which don't teach you anything else other than passing the test. English class teaches solely for the test. We rarely read fictional books. Most of our book in English is creating our own literature instead of reading literature with antiquated English. Interesting. Reading nonfiction books and writing our own essays. Yeah. Not able to create new folders, but now can't manipulate them. Yeah, I mean, where are the folders at in terms of things? Let's just go ahead and look at our, let's see, where's my desktop view? Desktop view. All right. Let's go back and look at the desktop view. So, of course, I'm in Cinnamon here. So here I open this up and I'm in my home folder. So anything inside of here, I should be able to create new folders or whatever else. If I go down into the file system and try and create a folder, you'll see I cannot create a folder. I can't move anything into here because this is a protected directory. I would need root access here. So if I right click and open as root, now I can actually enter my sudo password and then it will open up my file manager. I get this red bar indicating I'm in elevated privileges, and now I can actually manipulate folders in here. This is actually why I like Nemo and Cinnamon, because it allows me to do this versus other file managers may not allow you to do that. So I'm not sure what directory you're in. If you're in your main file systems, you shouldn't be messing around much in there anyway, but if you're in your home, you should be able to make any adjustments unless you got logged into the computer in a separate account that's not necessarily root. So for example, I can go into my file system and I have a few different folders. You'll see that this one here has the home icon because I'm logged in. Let me actually scroll up a little bit there. All right, so I can see here that this guy here actually is the folder, the user account for this folder. These are the other ones that I have on this particular system. You'll see here, I can't actually go in here and make any adjustments. Now, I may be able to copy folders, copy files from these. It kind of depends on what my properties are set at. So permissions, owner is only this user, and since this user is not the same user on that I'm logged in as, I can't do a lot to these. So I can't move it to trash. I can't delete it. I can copy it, but I really can't do anything else. And so, in fact, let's go ahead and copy a folder, and then we're going to go ahead and paste it here. And what we're going to see is permissions. Now that folder that I've copied and pasted, this guy here can now be manipulated. Now that I've copied it and pasted it into my own directory, I can do that. So that's the other case, is if you have multiple different user accounts and you're in someone else's user account folders, that will also cause your situation as well. So I don't know which, if any of those is your case or not. Learned a lot. Well, thank you. Thank you, Paco. Very good. Very cool. Following when people read early modern English, call it Old English, and can't understand a word. They used to teach language, yep. To create your first, you must learn a lot from others who created. I agree. Just dumbing people down, yep. Well, they want us to be imbeciles is what they want. Ye olde shoppy is a fine example of dumbing people down, yeah. English, where we created our own English grammar textbook. Why? Like, that's so backwards. It's like you start with the foundations of what is the commonly decided things by which we determine our language, and then you roll backwards from there. You don't recreate the rules and then declare that, no, I'm going to stick with these rules that have always been used through history. Don't call me wrong for doing that, you know? I'm going to get off on an education rant here soon. Suck Norris. Is that Chuck Norris's little cousin? I don't know. After 9 months of blissful Linux learning, I had to install Windows 10 and make Google OneDrive account. This feels like some kind of oppression. For school, that is. Ew. You can use Google Drive on Linux, by the way. Now, if you need to use Windows applications, I'm sorry. But yeah, Google Drive will work perfectly. You use anything like Cinnamon, you can log into your Google account with Cinnamon and sync several things in there. Favorite things when they try and say that's against the grammar rules. English has few rules grammatically. You begin with a conjunction, and there's no rule for that. Yeah. The end of the semester, I'm purging the evil from my system. What do you think of Windows? I don't like Windows. Nightmare on a Grammar book is created by a group of kids and their teacher. No offense, better learn some Latin. It gives you much better insight into grammar. I agree with that. I actually learned English grammar best when I studied Latin. Go figure that one out. I actually have to know what these different types of verbs are called back in the day when they taught that stuff. Did you install Linux on a Google OneDrive? Well, you can put a Google Drive account on Linux. Yeah, you can use, in fact, that's really what Peppermint was kind of the answer to the Chromebooks. You log into that and it has all your Google Drive stuff already connected for you. You just need to log in. .10 works okay, but I use it for some games. I don't trust it much. That's the thing. I think it works fine most of the time. I just don't trust it. Construct our own grammar textbooks instead of receiving one from school. What? Why? 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 Relativism doesn't work. No Google syncing here. Getting away from Google and the like. Only use it for YouTube. Yep. Pushing us to create our own textbook would teach us more effectively to use grammar than receiving a textbook from school. Using Wine first if you need to use Windows applications. Yeah. Of course is the whole MS Suite. Ugh. That's not good. School does not force its users to use Windows at all. Some of the computers were Unix. That's good. My opinion, if you want to learn some grammar, get an old book like a KJV, get a Webster's in 1821, and start at page 1. There you go. LibreOffice will work fine, but the teacher is so dumb to teach you how to use specific software. And that's the thing. It's like, why must I use your tool? Is my task to learn how to use... Like, if you're going into a college course and you're taking a college course on how to use Microsoft Office, good. You should install Microsoft Office on your computer. But if it's an English course that needs to write essays, why in the world do you want to make me use some specific software application? I want to use exclusively my own, you know? Do you want an essay or do you want me to get experience learning an application? I mean, I'll give you an essay on whatever I want to use. Come on. Do you agree with Stallman's view on open source? I would have to look up on his exact view on open source again. He's got some weird nuances that may or may not be in agreement with what I may or may not agree with. So I'd have to review his views on it again. Grammar textbook needed to have grammar rules that are used and approved by the Modern Language Association. MS Office spends the rest of my life using Vim. I personally use Nano. I like Nano better, personally. All right. I think what we're going to do... Is there a kitty in here? Kitty, kitty. Kitty, kitty. Come on, kitty, kitty. Come on. Come on. You have to jump. Come on. Come on. There you go. Good kitty. All right, let's go ahead and feed the beast. Feed the beast. Feed the beast. Oh boy. It's a kitty. Oh boy. Right there. That's right here. There's nothing in my hand, cat. It's all in the bag. This guy's so cute, but he's so dumb. Did you get one? Yeah. Here's another one. And we got, let's do one for this camera right here. Yeah. What do you think? Is it good? Finger looking good? Finger licking good? Yeah. Finger licking good, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's all you get, okay? All right, let's see what we got here. Final comments. Final comments. Oh, looks like the kitty's gonna leave us. He's a fair weather friend. He's like, I got my kitty treats. I'm out of here, yo. WPS Linux port is open source. Actually, it's not. WPS Linux has a crazy EULA. It is closed source, and part of the EULA is you are not allowed to reverse engineer it. Libre is capable of far more than I require. Yep. I use mousepad for any text editing. Works fine. Think Wi-Fi GoPro could for the cat could be a thing. Ooh. This could be a thing. Old good books, free of copyright, which can be downloaded from the internet. Ideal if you want to learn Latin, Euclidean, geometry, etc. Yeah, go to Project Gutenberg. Is a huge repository of public domain ebooks and ebooks in other formats as well. Same, for example, many languages use the genitive case to convey instrumental case. In some languages, you'd say, I hit him with a bat. The idea of requiring a test to see if students can create a graph specifically in Microsoft Excel. I actually used to start my chemistry courses by giving people I gave people a calculator test. I actually, first day of class, everyone got a calculator test. I wanted to make sure you knew how to use your calculator. That is how bad education in America is getting, where we are requiring these kids to buy these $100 calculators and nobody has a clue how to use them because the basic order of operations isn't even understood by your average student. And so I have to give an assignment to make sure that they know how to actually input data into their calculator correctly. For the love, people. That's insanity. But that's the reality of it, you know? I mean, students these days don't even know how to function their calculators right. So, yeah. Free software minus all the important stuff, like free speech. Yeah. Let's use a slide rule in lieu of TI-83 to prove a point to the calculator teacher. Yeah, I got to relearn how to use my slide rule. What does today feel like Friday? I don't know. I will not be streaming tomorrow. I'm going to record, I'm going to release probably the Tails video tomorrow. I'm going to do the EU video here later on today. We'll see you then on Friday. Will be the next live stream. I'm not going to actually record another video for tomorrow, so we're just going to use the two that I have here, take a little bit of an extra day off tomorrow, and then we'll dive into it. Yeah, order of operations, 3rd grade. Yeah, that's 3rd grade, but they teach to the test, so they don't remember it anymore. Oh, I had that. I told students, I don't care if you've had algebra. I care if you know algebra. I don't give a darn tootin' if you've actually had algebra or not. I care if you can come into my system and you know what a system of equations is and how to actually use one. If you can't tell me what is a system of equations and how to use it, you're going to fail the class. I made sure that people got out before the drop add period because the very first lab. Okay, here's a fun experiment, guys. But I'm not going to jump off yet. I'm going to teach you guys a little bit of science, all right? I have here a jar of change and stuff. All right. Let's see what I got. Oh man, I think everything here is new. Ah, man, everything here is new. Gotta find an old penny. Oh, is this an old penny? Yeah, found an old penny. Man, here's a 1969 D penny. Is that worth something? Any coin collectors? 1969 D penny, is that worth anything? All right, so I have some pennies here. All right. Now, if you get a penny that was printed before 1983, this penny, which is 1969, weighs 3 grams. This penny, minted after 1983, weighs 2.5 grams. The difference is old pennies are nearly entirely copper. New pennies are almost entirely zinc with a little bit of a copper plating on the outside of them. So what I used to do for my very first lab when I was teaching chemistry is they would get 10 pennies in an envelope. 10 pennies in an envelope, and it was sealed. Their task was to tell me how many of those pennies are new and how many of those pennies are old before opening the envelope. To solve it, it's a system of equations. Of course, your equation, the lab got them to learn how to take measurements. They had to figure out what was the mass of a penny, average out a mass of 10 different pennies, figure out the mass of the pennies, and figure everything out. So, of course, you had to set up a system of equations. Y, your total mass, is equal to the number of new pennies times the mass of new pennies plus the number of old pennies times the mass of the old pennies. Of course, our second system of equations is 10 is equal to x plus y. So you set up a system of equations, solve it out, and it'll tell you how many pennies are new and how many pennies are old in your envelope. Very simple, basic mathematics, but if you didn't have an understanding of algebra, you generally got very frustrated with the lab and dropped out and see ya. It was very intentional to weed out the people who couldn't actually understand it, because I don't care if you know algebra. If you've taken algebra, I care if you know algebra. Bottom line. All right, let's look at the comments one more time, and then we're going to go. All right. I get fired up on all this education stuff. All right, Unix C language, gotta go. 4 business trip monitors I bought for, ooh, really? Got 4 monitors, 150 total, that's awesome. Can't fail a class if you don't take it, yeah. We're learning Spanish cursive. Yeah, I don't even teach English cursive anymore. Children can't even read cursive, let alone learn it, yeah. Old penny's worth more than a penny now with the price of copper going through the roof. 1969 D penny, maybe 4 cents off the top of your head. Okay. Pawning Y over my school's textbook never mentioned Unix, Linux, Dennis Ritchie, Ken Thompson, Linus Torvalds, Richard Stallman. Yeah, funny, huh? All right, guys, we will catch you guys later. Thanks for hanging out, and have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you for another live stream on Friday.